Hi, everyone. My name is Mel Robertson, and I'd like to welcome you to Happiness is Your Own Damn Fault. What we're talking about is how to drop the baggage, increase your frequency, and live a bliss-filled life. Now, I decided to put this summit together because I want you to know that happiness is equally available to everyone, no matter what circumstances you've been through. So no matter what you've endured, you can choose happiness now. Happiness is your birthright. It is your natural state of being underneath all the baggage you've been dragging around with you for all these years. So what I wanted to do was interview people who are truly happy and get them to share with you their secrets on how they let go of the past, stopped worrying about the future, and started living their bliss. And today I'm so excited to welcome Pamela Horton. And I chose her because her primary goal is to inspire you to be the best possible version of you. She is a spiritual advisor, executive mentor, author, and athlete who helps others consciously create an enthusiastic life. She earned her bachelor's degree in social work and her master's degree in organizational development. Pamela blossomed from a violently early childhood, an abusive first marriage, codependency, debilitating fears, emotional, spiritual, and business bankruptcy, as well as poor health, and refers to these life lessons as my spiritual boot camp training so that I can serve others and help change lives. And that's exactly what she does. Pamela helps people from around the world move to a warrior mindset, living from one's soul rather than their ego, for a balanced, abundant, and blessed life. What an honor it is to have you, Pam. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mel. Hello, everyone.
So, Pam, before we jump in, I just want to give you an opportunity to just to share a little bit more about yourself and how you came to do what you do. Would you mind?
Not at all. It's actually, I want to say thank you again for having me because it's so important in today's world to know that people actually have come from a place of adversity, a strong hold of adversity, lots of baggage to be able to move forward in life and to live a life of peace. And I just want to say thank you again for the opportunity and thank you for the work that you're doing, Mel, because it's important to be able to have a platform to share, to lead the way for others so that they know that they can do it too. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
For me, a little bit more about myself. A beautiful introduction. Thank you again. Really, I grew up in a household that was very volatile. As a little girl, my biological father was dependent upon alcohol, and that made him a very angry man, or at least brought out his anger in very abusive ways towards my mother. And I witnessed an awful lot of violence and a lot of running we did. And it was hard and it was difficult, but every single day I would wake up as if it was a brand spanking new day. Now, I'm not sure what made me do that, but I never lost that ability. And every single day I would have the most bright smile, and I would go to school as if nothing happened, like many people do. You go to school like nothing ever happened the night before. But I was able to transcend what was going on and be happy and keep a childlike state of mind. And thankfully and gratefully, I didn't lose that. However, having said that, because of the repetitive behaviors and habits that took place, I grew up with fears. And while my professional and my student career was excellent, my personal life didn't end up going so well. And I ended up marrying somebody very similar to my father when I was my first marriage. And it kept me in that repetitive victim role. And with the help of understanding and praying and some good friends, I was able to release that pattern and start to change my life for the better, and also begin to change other people's lives because I was practicing what I was learning, and I was able to teach what it was that I was learning and practicing. And the other aspect of the role, or the role that I have and have continued to have over the lifetime, is being able to connect with spirit, if you will, or source, in a way that is friendly and loving. But that, too, was disconnected in my adolescent years because I quickly learned that when I was seeing things and hearing things, nobody else was seeing or hearing them. Even as a young child and having imaginary friends, a lot of people that I was friends with didn't have these things. And so I quickly learned to keep some things quiet and shut down that side of me until my latter 20s, and then was able to tap back into that.
Really cool. That's amazing. So in your later 20s, you were able to tap back into that?
Yes, only because I learned that while I was, you see, when I started off and graduated from college, I was a social worker and helped adolescents and families and did a lot of group coaching and group counseling. And I was seeing the same patterns that I experienced as a child, but I wasn't able to teach people how to tap into their higher power or their higher self. I was able to have them learn how that their beliefs and their patterns were recreating their world, and not just recreating it, but creating it in essence. And then one day I was able to talk very freely about spirituality, and it just came to me like a lightning bolt. I was in front of a group of parents, and we were taught in school how not to bring spirituality or religion, if you will, into it, or faith-based practices into counseling. It had to be very objective. And something just hit me like a lightning bolt where it was so strong that I just started to speak in a way that was not just from my mind, but was from my heart. And I really equate that to spirit and source. And I just let it flow. And that was one of the most powerful groups that I had ever conducted. And people came up afterwards, and they were so inspired, and which inspired me to keep going in that direction and to learn more about my faith and who it was that I was connecting, my God and the angels and the saints even at that time, and ascended masters. And I started to speak more freely about it. And I need to step back for a second here. One of the modalities that I work with are tarot cards. And this was something that I dabbled in as a child. My mother would work with playing cards, traditional regular playing cards, as tarot readings, and it was something that I enjoyed doing. And I was always enchanted by the ethereal world and the spirit world, and I would continue my studies through the books that I read, but I would also start to purchase my own tarot cards and learn in different ways how to interpret them. And I would give readings to my friends and my family. And I shut that down, as I mentioned earlier, because there was a taboo associated with it. And I was entering into the public sector and working with people as a professional career social worker, and then moved into affinity marketing and business development. So I really wasn't able to become fully self-expressed with that side of me. And it was that side of me that I was able to tap back into, that everybody has the ability to. That was what started to bring more success, happiness, and peace in my life.
I love that with coaching that you're not restricted by the rules of working like in a therapy setting with people. Because I've worked with therapists in the past and I've worked with coaches, and I find that I get so much more benefit being able to work with a coach because they can share so much on a deeper level, It was just such a much more beneficial experience being able to learn techniques and tap into my own connection with source working with a coach rather than not being able to do that with a traditional therapist, just working with belief patterns.
Absolutely, Mel, and that's what it's about. In fact, I actually prefer advisor over coach because for multiple reasons, but I couldn't agree with you more. And the role that I take really seriously is helping others tap into their higher power, their higher self, in a way that is, again, friendly, in a way that is blessed, in a way that is not taboo or scary, but helps them create the life that they've always wanted, and not only wanted, but absolutely are divinely invited to. It's their divine right.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I mean, that's really the only way we can get our answers. Our only truth can come from our true connection to our source. Nobody else has them for us. It's the best possible way to help someone.
It's exactly right. It's what Jesus taught. It's what Buddha taught. Absolutely.
Yep. I mean, even Jesus said heaven and hell are within you, so you kind of have to go within to figure it out, right?
Yes, and it's dark and scary at times. But with an advisor or mentor or platforms like yours, Mel, that what you're doing here, it just opens up the way for people to be able to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I wanted to talk to you about is that you help people move into a warrior mindset. Would you mind talking for a minute about what a warrior mindset is and what that looks like?
Absolutely. I mentioned the term victim earlier when I was mentioning and sharing with you all about my childhood. I don't allow my childhood or my situations that have held me down, like baggage or an anchor or whatever negative connotation that you can apply here, I don't allow them to keep me in the victim role. And the opposite of victim can either be warrior or champion. And when you think of those two terms, for me, what comes to mind is the heart of a champion, the heart of a warrior. Get back up when you are pushed down, or get back up when you push yourself down. You keep going. But you don't just keep going to hit the wall over and over and over again. You keep going to transcend the wall, to rise above it, to not just break through it, but to actually rise above it and climb over it, and to really look back and see that it's really, truly behind you. And when you have a warrior mindset or a champion mindset, there isn't anything that can defeat you. Not a thing, because when you're in that state of mind, you truly come to understand and believe that the only thing that exists is love. Anything that isn't love is of our own mind's production. It's a story, it's a movie that our mind puts together based on past experiences. And I choose to live from a heart of a champion, or my soul, or a mindset of a warrior. And I help people get into that mindset.
I love that you said that you choose, because, I mean, the bottom line, ultimately, that all of us have to do is we have to choose for ourselves whether we're going to continue to stay in a victim role and feel like life is happening to us, or we're going to step into our power and take 100% responsibility for the life we've been creating and we're creating now, and step up. I love that you used the word that you chose. It's possible. You can choose. You have to choose. It's the only way. You have to make the choice. No one can do it for you.
Absolutely. Every single moment there is a choice. Every single second there is a choice to be aware and mindful, or asleep and allowing our soul to slumber. And there's no way around that. And it takes work, though, and the work in the beginning is becoming so utterly honest with yourself and doing the work of going in, as you mentioned earlier, and facing those fears and using those fears as stepping stones. And I refer to it as spiritual boot camp. You know, listen, just because I'm living a life of happiness and bliss now does not mean that I still don't have my spiritual boot camps that last for, a day up to 6 weeks. It depends on how much energy you have, what you're consuming, whether it's music, friends, family, food, environment. It depends on so many factors, and it ultimately depends on your level of, again, just like you said, responsibility, accountability, and honesty.
I love that you said that. And you mentioned the word living your bliss. I'd like to just take an opportunity here for a second to ask you, what does living your bliss mean to you today? And what does that look like for you?
I'm sighing because what I'd like to share right now is also a sneak peek of what I was like as a corporate executive. I worked for multiple insurance companies over a 20-year time span, and actually two insurance companies. And I was the traditional proverbial American in the corporate setting, meaning as soon as my eyes opened, my feet were on the floor running. I was not giving myself breaks. I was going at least 14 hours a day. I was eating on the fly. I was overweight, suffered from migraines, suffered from heartburn every single day, migraines at least twice a week, debilitating, dark room, Ipetrax, I think it was the name of the prescription that I was on. just like everybody else, on medication for ailments, sleep deprived, situationally depressed because I was caring for my mother who is dying from colon cancer or trying to live with colon cancer. Still working through my own fears and limiting beliefs. And I was emotionally bankrupt, spiritually bankrupt, business bankrupt, because I wasn't paying attention to any of the cues that Source and my God was sending me. And Jesus, and what my God is, I went through 12 years of Catholic school, kindergarten through senior year. I believe in God. I believe in the universe. To me, the names are synonymous. Yeah, however, so my bliss comes from being finally healthy and vibrant, going from a size 16 to a size 0 in a very healthy way, no longer suffering from migraines, no longer suffering from heartburn, no longer suffering from any kind of bankruptcy. There is abundance in my life, from food to my home to my bank account. There is abundance of time. There is abundance of health, wealth, and wisdom that I'm experiencing that I did not experience because I was not awake. I was not tapped into Source. I was not operating from a place of faith in my soul and a warrior mindset. And for me, bliss means everything that I just laid out to you. I have the time to take a nap if I want to, and without guilt. I have the time to exercise without guilt. I have the time to eat the food that is proper for my body without guilt. I have the time to teach and coach others that brings in abundance in a way that I could never, that's ineffable. I cannot explain what it feels like to be able to work with people and help people on their journey. Before, I was just a robot. I was a machine. I was not feeling. I did not know. I was emotionally stunted. I did not know what it meant to be awake. And I live a life of bliss. I lived in a cold state of Connecticut. I grew up there. I was raised there. I worked there. And I moved, I put it out there with an intention of living in a warmer subtropical climate. And a year and a half ago, we moved after putting our home on the market for one day. One day our house was on the market and it sold, and there's still homes in our old neighborhood that are still in the market that were on the market prior to ours going up. It's just ineffable how life can be, how it should be, how our divine rights are there for the taking when we finally become awake and hold ourselves accountable and responsible. That, to me, is a life of bliss.
Absolutely. I love it. I mean, it's like what you believe you receive. So if you believe that you are abundant and have all these amazing things, that's what your reality starts to show for you. But if you believe that life is struggle and lack and fear, then that's what life shows for you as well. So,
absolutely, Mel. The disconnect or the step that I find most people find that's hard for them in the beginning is, I believe, they'll say, I do believe, but nothing is coming to fruition for them. Or some things do for a little while and then it holds off. Or they go, they'll take 2 steps forward and 10 steps back. The work that I do with folks is I teach them the steps on how to finally believe in themselves, in the abundance of the universe, the fact that the universe has their back, the fact that they are in the palm of the universe and they really don't have to worry about anything. I teach them how to believe. I teach them how to communicate with Source. I teach them how to pray, essentially, so that they can live their life of bliss. My life of bliss is what it means to me. It's different for everybody. Somebody may thrive on the adrenaline of the go, 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 go. That may be their bliss, but is it at an expense that will cause them a bankruptcy eventually, whether it be spiritually, emotionally? If their bliss is to have the adrenaline and to go, 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 let's find what that balance looks like and let's achieve that. Let me help you achieve that, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think this would be a good time to talk about, we're talking about doing the work and actually helping people get connected. When people actually start to do the work, and I know that lots of changes are happening right now, and people are, lots of stuff is coming up for people in the world, it'd be a good time to talk about what a spiritual breakthrough actually feels like.
Yes. quite honestly, it's actually really painful. And it really is. It's really painful in the beginning of the process. If you are continuously experiencing roadblock after roadblock, physical ailment after physical ailment, argument after argument, just depletion and unhappiness and exhaustion and finding yourself not feeling energized and just not happy, these are actual signs for you to pay attention. All that they are signs, like neon signs, that are trying to wake you up and wake you up to you, the real you, that is tapped in 100% of the time to the universe, again, to your source, to your higher power. And the pain comes from resisting what you know needs to happen, resisting what you can be doing versus what you are doing, resisting what you don't want. And when you resist, you cause pain, and it persists what you are resisting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the spiritual breakthrough process. It just feels like the world is coming down all around you. It feels like as soon as you are breaking through the ground, so to speak, if you were a flower or a seedling, somebody steps on you. As soon as you break through again, hail comes down and bursts your stem. As soon as you make breakthrough again, there's just a torrential downpour. As soon as you break through again, an animal eats the bud. It's painful. Now, when you begin to recognize, oh my gosh, this is my boot camp. I can take advantage of this. This is the beginning steps of my breakthrough. This is the beginning steps of feeling less stressed, of feeling happy, of feeling bliss. And when you can recognize all of that negative baggage and stuff that's happening to you are opportunities, that's when you make more forward momentum. That's when you're able to make more movement towards the actual breakthrough. And once that breakthrough really does happen with the understanding that you are not attached to what's going on or how to detach what's happening, how to not listen to the stories that your mind is conjuring up because of whatever, that's when the goodness happens. That's when the relief comes to come to fruition. That's when the burden is finally lifted and you are able to coast and you're able to live in that state of mind of bliss, in that state of mind of awareness, in that state of mind of being the real you. And once that happens, you get a reprieve for a long time, for as long as you are awake. And then once you start experiencing those blocks again, those negative hiccups, I'll call them, or the arguments, or the migraines, or the whatever that's happening that's keeping you from being happy. Those, if you can remember that, oh my gosh, these are my wake-up calls again, you won't let the pain will be less than what it was before.
Yeah, absolutely. You just see them as your catalyst to your change instead of them being negative and a problem, and just shift your perspective on it. Yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to offer up, guys, that and gals, these breakthroughs, these occurrences, these boot camps, I still experience them. Your greatest spiritual master, the person who you would define as a guru versus you defining you as a guru of your own spiritual path, we still experience it. That's why we're able to continue to teach it, because you can only take somebody as far as you go yourself.
Yep.
And if you are open, if you are willing to walk through the fire, if you're willing to walk over the coals and take yourself to that next level, that next plateau, you're able to walk other people through it. You're able to help guide others to guide themselves. And I welcome it. I just had a hiccup, if you will, a couple of weeks ago where I was like, every morning I had lost touch with my rituals, my way of being. I had lost touch with source again. Why? Because I was listening to my mind. I was attached to the stories. I was attached to the outcome. And it was a process of, again, being kind to myself, recognizing what was happening, and then being able to move through that. But if you've never done it before, if you've only done it part way, it's so hard to do it by yourself. And so that's why I welcome it myself to continue to go through the process, because it means that I'm transcending to another level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you were talking about the image of a seed bursting forth, and like, you know, we can't have a beautiful flower without the struggle, just like you can't have a butterfly without the cocooning process. Like, we have to go through the periods of struggle and challenge in order for us to grow, or we couldn't grow. Life would be stasis.
Absolutely. You know, if we were to just stick with the seedling for a second, I'm not sure what, I can't recall what the philosopher was. It actually might have been Rumi, who had said this originally, and I might not say it properly here, but in order for a seedling to actually grow and make its way in the world and grow according to the sunlight, right? If you watch a plant and you put a plant in a window, if you don't rotate that plant is going to grow all in one direction.
Yep.
So you have to make sure that there's balance. But in order for it to even to reach that point, the seedling, the actual seed, has to crack and die away. And what you're doing when you allow yourself to experience the spiritual breakthroughs, the negativity, from a 30,000-foot view level versus in it, and experiencing it the way that everybody else does, you aren't going to crack. And you're cracking, and the old shell, the old way of being, must crack and die away for you to burst forth. And that is a true process.
Mhm.
It's a humbling process.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like similar in the path of Jesus, like the idea of like dying to yourself, like die to that old self and shed it and wake up to your light. Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you do all of that, you're able to raise your vibration, and your vibration is what attracts. The level of your frequency, the level of your vibration is what attracts what it is ultimately that you desire, which is ultimately love, unconditional acceptance, abundance in all matters and areas of life, and living a divine life. And for me anyways, and it comes together.
It does. And I mean, I just want to share too that like, no matter like what traumas and emotional childhood issues you've experienced in your life, like you don't even have to know the stories anymore. You just have to give yourself permission to feel the emotions that you never experienced, for the energy to release and the vibration to change and increase, and for all that baggage to just fall away. Because once you give it permission to raise up and just experience it, it doesn't stay anymore. It goes away. So all you have to do is give yourself permission to feel.
Exactly. Permission, and then it requires a bit of courage, because you don't know what's on the other side, right? You don't know what's on the other side of feeling of that fear, that panic, that out of control feeling. If you've not walked through it, if you've not experienced it, you don't know what's on the other side. But what's on the other side of that absolute manic panic, anxiety, fear, whatever it is that you're telling yourself, is peace. And one of the sayings that I often share with folks is relax, release, and then receive. And what I mean by the term relax is, if you are in a moment of, I'm trying to think of an experience recently that I've had with a client. A client of mine is in the process of going through a divorce. And she is so fearful of her children, what's going to happen to her children when she allows them to visit with her soon-to-be ex-husband. She's so fearful of the life that her ex-husband's going to lead without her. She's very fearful of what her life is going to look like without him. And I invited her to give herself permission to feel the feelings of the fears. Relax into them. Relax your body. When you think about a fear, you tense up naturally. Your physical body becomes an armor. And when you relax the physical armor and experience the moment of that fear and walk through it in your soul, with your soul, you are then able to release not only the fear, but any kind of judgment, assumption, expectation, outcome, etc., to what that fear is. Because ultimately what I've learned is what you fear it doesn't happen. It's happening in your mind, which makes it feel real. But it doesn't happen, that fear, ultimately, when you relax and then release the assumptions, as I mentioned. At that point, it's so magical that you do receive exactly what you don't want, what you are looking for, what you do want, which is, in this case, her children to be safe, her children to be loved by their father, her children to experience their father in a loving way, and where they have his full undivided attention. He's able to experience a life of peace and non-worry without her, and she's able to move forward. And that's what happened. I mean, the kids went to him over the weekend, and it was a true, honest time. It wasn't a time that he was making look good for court. It was a true, genuine experience with his children, and that's all that she wanted. And she was able to see that was the outcome because she was able to relax, release, and receive.
That's so beautiful. That's such a powerful process. So for all the people that we've been talking to that are struggling with a spiritual breakthrough and having this, is there something that they can do right now after they get off this interview to help them maybe relax and receive and release right now? Is there something they can do?
Two things that have been extremely helpful and beneficial through my journey and the journey of those that I mentor. Number one is to pay attention to your physical body. Your physical body is an absolute messenger of what your soul is in need of. If you are tense, if your shoulder blades, if your shoulders are up to your earlobes, if you are experiencing migraines or headaches, if you are experiencing any sort of physical discomfort, there is an emotional tie to that discomfort. There is an emotional release to that discomfort. And when you pay attention to what your physical body is saying to you, you can tap into Source and to your higher power and communicate with it. Sit with it for a few moments and ask, what is it that it needs? And listen and trust what it is that's coming into you, and then act on that trust. So number one is to pay attention to the physical suit that your soul is living in. What is it saying to you? How is it feeling? How is it being? The second thing that I want to offer up is, actually there's three things. The second thing I want to offer up is, whenever you ask somebody, how are you? Ask yourself and them, change the question to, how are you being? How are you being right here, right now? Are you in a state of anxiety? Are you in a state of being asleep? Are you in a state of not being conscious of what it is that you're doing? Are you driving your car and not realizing how you got from point A to point B? Did you black out there? How are you being? Ask yourself this repeatedly throughout the day. And if you forget to, set a reminder on your phone that will ding every hour, that will remind you to ask this or to check in with your physical suit, your physical body. And then the next thing is that I would love to offer up is be conscious of your breath. I know that a lot of people say this and offer this up as a tool, but it couldn't be more true to pay attention to it, because our breath is a direct line to Source. Our breath is a direct, it's almost like the shoestring or remember the olden days, I say them, where kids would use the tin cans and the string to communicate with one another across the rooms or what have you. It really is a direct line. And when you pay attention to your breathing, how shallow is it? Are you breathing? Did you breathe at all in the last 30 seconds? Are you holding your breath? Pay attention, and as soon as you catch yourself doing whatever it is that you're doing, take a breath in, not just through your nose, but visualize it coming in through your heart and in your chest. Breathe it in. Breathe in the moment. Breathe in the breath and in the air, and refresh and recharge and reboot.
Excellent. Yeah, seriously, that's great. Well, Pam, we are just about out of time here, so I'd love to just take an opportunity, because I know you're offering an amazing free gift of 30 Days of Angel Whispers for our listeners. If you wanted to take a minute to talk about that, that'd be great.
Absolutely. I do daily readings for folks. Most of the time they are private. And however, sometimes with their permission, without using their name, I will ask them to, as I mentioned, permission to just kind of allow the reading to go public. And I have recorded 30 days worth of actual readings that are a couple of minutes long, that are just like an inspiration for the day, a check-in for your soul, a way for you to become motivated to live your life consciously and fully aware. And these messages are directly from my guides, but also the angels, archangels, and the ascended masters. And they're just beautiful, and they're gentle, and they are a perfect opportunity for you to check in with the real you and move forward throughout your day in a state of mind that's fully aware, fully forgiving, fully compassionate, and fully in a state of love.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that with everyone.
My pleasure.
Now, before we close, do you have any parting words of wisdom you'd like to share?
I want just take it a step further with regards to ask yourself how you are being and paying attention to your physical body. There's 3 bodies that we operate from at any given moment: our mind or our ego body, our physical body, and our spirit or our soul body. For most people, they're leading and living from their mind and their ego. This is the one that is in charge. It really should be living in unison, the 3 bodies, all simultaneously together, with our soul leading the way. The way that we can find out what body we're leading from and living from is by asking that question, how you are being, and also checking in with your physical suit in terms of what's tense on you. Is it your hip? Is it your shoulders? Is it your back? Do you have an earache, etc.? And tuning into that process and moving forward from a completely aware state of mind.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And before we close, I just want to remind everyone that happiness is an inside job, and it's equally available to every single one of us. And we're living in a time where we can choose to drop whatever baggage we've been carrying around. We don't need to know the story anymore. It starts with a simple choice. You are powerful beyond measure, and all you need to do is tap into the divine power that created you and follow the guidance you were given. You were born to be happy, experience joy, and live an abundant, blissed-out, spacious life. I want to hear from you, so hit reply to this email and share your thoughts with me. Pam, it's been such a pleasure having you on board in this summit with me. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mel. Thank you for everyone who's listening, and I look forward to hopefully sharing some time and space with everybody later.